What's up, everyone? How you guys doing? And a few hours ago, we just got confirmation of what's going to happen in 5.3. We also got some confirmation of some of the timelines in this patch, and I think that it might disappoint some people. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk. And apparently, not only did we also get Phase 1 banners, we also got Phase 2 banners as well for Arlecchino and Clorend. So we're going to talk all about this today. So let's begin. Okay, so first and foremost, let's just address the elephant in the room that everyone's been talking about. So we all know that in 5.3, we are going to get 20 pools, technically 10 plus 1600 Primo Gems. However, it's been confirmed to only come on the 22nd of January, whereas if you look at the banners for the first phase, it ends on the 21st, which I think is pretty disappointing. I think a lot of people were wishing to use those pools on the banner, especially since we have two new characters on the same phase 1. But it is, you know what, I'm not gonna say it is what it is. I think it's I think I'll re-emphasize my point that I made in the last video, that Hoyo is going for the full FOMO experience. So it is what it is. I shouldn't be saying that word, but you know what, that's what they've done. Okay, so anyways, that aside, right, I already made a whole video about it. I'm going to re-emphasize my points again. This just kind of confirms my worries. So let's talk about the banners. All right, so we have the phase 1 banners. We have obviously we know that mavuika and citlali are on it, but we also have confirmation that the true Pyro Archon Bennett is there. Yes, we are blessed by 2 Pyro Archons on this patch. But anyways, we also have Kachina and Diona. So I think as we look at those characters, I think let's talk about Bennett first and foremost. Insane buffer. If you through his burst, the C1 kind of helps alleviate the cap or the restriction on his burst, where you have to be above 70% to get the attack buff. But the C1 kind of negates that, and he gives you additional 20% of Bennett's base attack. But do take note that his base attack doesn't matter on like his attack substats or the attack scaling of the weapons substat. You know, it is only on the weapons base attack and also Bennett's base attack based on his character, which is why you kind of want Bennett to get to level 90, because obviously max level means the highest possible base attack for Bennett. So that's that. And of course, I do want to talk about this again, the C6 for Bennett. Don't be afraid, as long as you're not playing Ayaka, Eula, Kaching, Lynette, or any character that have their or who has their infusion overridden, right? Then obviously you wouldn't activate for those characters. But you're playing with like Navia, you're playing with like Ayato, if you're playing this with like obviously Mavuika, who's pyro anyways, you're playing this, you know, with other with any other characters that are sword, claymore, or polearm, that it states in the kit that their infusion cannot be overridden, it's fine. And plus, as I mentioned, it kind of gives pyro damage bonus as well, so it is very, very strong for your pyro DPSs like Arlecchino and stuff. So I think we talked to them about Bennett. Let's talk about the other 4 stars, starting with Diona. I think Diona's in a very weird space. Like she's okay. Like she gives a shield through her skill and healing through her burst, but I think that its scaling isn't very high. And I think that unfortunately, due to circumstances, the main one being Farina being released in Fontaine, the healing doesn't really keep up. It's also single target, which means that you are not able to stack her passive or her burst very fast. Her constellations are also a little bit iffy. The second one kind of gives her a stronger shield, which is nice. The C6 is okay, but it also is a little bit weird because it does give you an on-field character who is in the signatures mix, which is the burst, right? The healing field. It does give you additional EM. I think that she's mostly played in freeze teams, which is like you don't really need the EM at all. So like she's a very weird character as well in terms of constellations. Kachina, obviously, if you play in 5.0, I don't know where you can still get for free. Maybe someone in the comment section can correct me on that. But Kachina, let's be real, Kachina is basically a walking passive for your Hero of the Cinder City artifact set, which gives you a lot of bonus. But her constellations are pretty alright. Her C4, I think, is the most noteworthy one. Additional defense for your on-field character, which can be pretty nice for a character like Ito, for example. But ultimately, as I mentioned, she is more of a walking passive, and I think once you get characters like Shilonen or even citlali in the next patch, you kind of replace her, right? So that is that. That is it for the characters. Maybe just want to briefly talk about the weapon banners, which is over here. It's pretty okay. 2 sacrificial, 2 favonias. They're pretty decent weapons. I think this is the lithic blade. I can't really remember. It is a lithic blade. It's right over here. Yeah, this is like, I think it's passive illyriate. Honestly, I don't have it, which is actually pretty funny. But I think it's a very restrictive passive. So it is what it is. But let's talk about the 2 signature weapons. The very, very first one, the 1000 Blazing Suns, which is Mavuika signature. Pretty low crit rate, but obviously this is in tandem with the Obsidian Codex set, which gives you 40% crit rate, but it does have a very high base attack, so that's very nice. That being said, it also gives you 20% crit damage whenever you use your skill or your burst, and also increases your attack by 28% for 6 seconds. This can be extended when your normal or charge attacks deal elemental damage, which can be pretty nice. Obviously, it works on the character, it works for other characters like Navia as well, where you get the Geo Infusion, so that's also pretty nice for other characters as well. Although the other characters besides Mavuika can't really upkeep this portion because first and foremost, Night Soul's Blessing for Claymore characters are only limited to Kinish and Mavuika, so that's that. So that is but all in all, I think that this is a little bit more universal. Obviously the low crit rate may deter people, but don't be a crit ND, right? It's a very high base attack, which is still pretty good. And even for let's say for Navia or any other DPS characters that uses Marishuse Hunter, for example, with Farina, right, it can also be pretty nice even if you can't upkeep the last portion. The next one, which is the Starcaller's Watch Catalyst, this is mostly more Lani niche, like only for her kind of weapon. You do get a lot of elemental mastery, 365, which is obviously pretty good for a lot of characters like Nahida as well. That being said, the second part of the passive doesn't really work it only works for her, Lan Yuan, to a certain extent Yanfei and Ningguang as well. I'm not very sure where the Geo Crystals from Ningguang activate the passive of the Mirror of the Night, so that's up in the air. But yeah, like I said, it is only for an EM's like 365. But that being said, there are better ways to get this amount of EM, so it doesn't really matter that much. It's like I said, this is a mostly for citlali kind of weapon, so don't be forced to really pull for this. You do have pretty decent alternatives like the sacrificial fragments as well. That being said, like I mentioned, the 2 weapons are obviously best slots for the characters, so you're pulling for them, they'll obviously be the best weapons. But if you are going to be pulling for if you're going to pull for one, I think the Claymore is a little bit better and more universal. Okay, so before we move on, right, to the phase 2 banners, which we'll briefly talk about, I do want to point out about the Chronicle Wish. In my recap video of 5.3, I did say that Chronicle Wish is a scam. And after thinking about it for a while, I think that the Mondstadt one was 100% scam. But looking at the Lyria lineup, I do think that it is pretty okay. So, I'll talk more about this in another video, but this is mostly character dependent, right? So obviously if your patch has bad characters, then it is what it is. But this one, we do have some standouts like Baiju and Shao, for example. So there may be more value in this banner for players who are looking to invest in these characters. So yeah, let's talk about the last part, which is the phase 2. Not gonna go too in depth, but Alakino and Clorend are pretty decent. They also have their signature weapons up. I want to say this. I do think that if you're pulling for citlali, the weapon is much better than the first constellation, even though you do get a lot of weapons, a lot of additional attack and damage. That being said, you know, if you're not, obviously that means you have to pull a citlali kind of thing. So if you really don't want to pull a citlali, the C1 is technically a little bit better, especially if you have weapons like the Staff of Scarlet Sands or even the Primordial Jade Wing Spear, right? So that's that. The 4-stars that I'm running are actually pretty decent. Rosera can be pretty good for like melt teams, especially if you pull citlali. Chevrus is pretty good with both characters because of overload. And Lanyan, I don't know really how much of a kid, but you know, she looks to be at least a pretty decent or with constellation. Of course, do not feel forced to pull for her, especially if you have both Arlecchino and Chlorend, because obviously you can get it for free as well. But if you want constellations, then you made a double dip there. So that is basically that for this video. You know, going back to the initial points about the timelines being confirmed, I think most people wanted this to be like Miyabi and Harumasa's banner in Zenless Zone 0, where they are both released at the beginning and are running for the entire patch. That's not the case, unfortunately. But, and you know what, like I said, I think just Hoyover's playing to the FOMO. That's all I'm going to say about it. People say I was a crybaby and I was whining too much about it in my last video, and the truth is, you know what, I'm going to say it. I think that issues need to be brought up. There's the reason why I made that video. Issues need to be brought up because that's where we can foster a healthier community instead of being yes men to all bad decisions. That being said, I think that obviously people are going to be excited for 5.3 with or without the 20 pulls, especially for the phase 1 banners. So I hope you guys are excited for it as well. Do let me know in the comment section below your thoughts, and if I don't make another video before the new year, happy new year to every one of you. That being said, do like, share, comment, subscribe, all the good YouTube stuff, and do follow me on Twitch, link in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, be good to yourselves and the people around you. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.